The day a wife packed her bags was supposed to be an ordinary afternoon. The sunlight was still shining through the windows, the neighbors were going about their routines, and the world looked peaceful from the outside. But inside one quiet home, a marriage was breaking apart in a way no one could see coming. When Marissa opened the door and saw the woman standing there with her husband's secret, she did not scream, she did not fight, and she did not beg. She simply walked upstairs, packed her bags, and left behind a silence that terrified the man who thought he would never lose her. Before we begin this emotional journey, if you believe in kindness, forgiveness, and second chances, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to Heart Kindness Tales for more touching stories like this. Marissa had spent 12 years building a life with her husband, Adrian. She remembered the early days when their dreams were bigger than their problems. They had started with a small apartment, old furniture, and endless plans for the future. They laughed through difficult days and celebrated tiny victories. Marissa believed that love was not about having a perfect life but about having someone who would stand beside you when life became difficult. Over the years, their home became filled with memories. The marks on the wall from moving furniture, the garden they planted together, the photographs from birthdays and quiet weekends, all told the story of two people who once promised forever. But slowly, something changed. Adrian became distant. His late nights at work increased, his attention disappeared, and the warmth that once filled their conversations faded into cold silence. Marissa noticed every small change, but she kept convincing herself that stress was the reason. She told herself that every marriage had difficult seasons. She tried harder. She cooked his favorite meals, waited for him after long days, and searched for the man she once knew in the tired face of the person sitting across from her. What hurt the most was not the distance itself. It was the feeling that she was fighting alone. Adrian was not a cruel man. That was what made everything harder. He was kind to strangers, respectful to family, and always willing to help others. But inside his own home, he had forgotten the person who had supported him through every storm. He became so focused on chasing excitement and attention that he failed to notice the pain growing quietly beside him. One afternoon, Marissa returned home earlier than expected. She had planned to surprise Adrian with a peaceful evening because she believed they needed time together. She carried a small bag of groceries and walked toward the front door with hope in her heart. But before she could enter, she noticed an unfamiliar car parked outside. At first, she thought it belonged to a friend. She opened the door slowly and stepped inside. The house was quiet, but she heard voices from the living room. When she walked closer, she saw a woman she had never met sitting comfortably in the place where she and Adrian had shared years of memories. The woman looked surprised, but Marissa immediately understood. The details around her suddenly became impossible to ignore. The perfume in the air, the familiar comfort of the stranger sitting on her couch, and the way Adrian stood beside her with guilt written across his face all revealed a truth Marissa had been afraid to accept. Her heart broke in that moment, but something else happened too. She stopped feeling confused. She stopped searching for answers. The uncertainty that had tortured her for months disappeared because the truth was finally standing in front of her. Marissa did not create a scene. She did not throw anything or demand explanations. She simply looked at Adrian and saw a man who had lost the trust of the person who loved him most. She walked upstairs quietly. Every step felt heavier than the last. The house that once felt like her safe place suddenly felt unfamiliar. She entered their bedroom, opened the closet, and began placing her clothes into a suitcase. Her hands shook, but her decision was clear. She was not packing because she stopped loving him. She was packing because she finally understood that love without respect could slowly destroy a person. When Adrian realized what she was doing, panic replaced the confidence he had carried for months. He followed her upstairs, watching the woman who had always stayed now preparing to leave. For the first time in a long time, he truly saw her. He saw the tiredness in her eyes, the sadness she had hidden, and the strength it took for her to walk away from everything they built. Adrian tried to stop her, but Marissa remained calm. She had spent too many nights crying silently, wondering what was wrong with her. Now she knew the problem was not that she was not enough. The problem was that he had stopped protecting what they had. That night, Marissa left with a small suitcase and a heart full of memories. She stayed with her older cousin, Celine, who welcomed her without asking unnecessary questions. For the first time in years, Marissa had a quiet place where she could hear her own thoughts. The days that followed were painful. She missed the familiar sounds of her home. She missed the routines she once complained about. She missed the person Adrian used to be. But slowly, she started rebuilding herself. She began taking morning walks, reconnecting with old friends, and focusing on things she had ignored while trying to save her marriage. She realized that she had spent so much time trying to hold someone else's hand that she had forgotten to hold her own. Meanwhile, Adrian's life became completely different. The excitement he thought he wanted disappeared quickly. The person he had chosen over his marriage did not understand the sacrifices Marissa had made. The comfort of a temporary escape could never replace years of genuine love. For the first time, Adrian felt the emptiness of the home he had taken for granted. The quiet rooms reminded him of every moment Marissa had been there for him. He saw the little things he ignored, like the notes she left, the meals she prepared, and the way she always believed in him even when he doubted himself. Regret became his daily companion. But regret alone was not enough. Adrian knew that if he wanted any chance of healing, he had to change completely. He started by accepting responsibility. He stopped blaming circumstances, stopped making excuses, and finally admitted that his actions had hurt the person who trusted him most. Weeks passed before Marissa agreed to meet him. She was not looking for promises anymore. She had heard enough promises. She wanted to see actions. Adrian did not ask her to forget. He did not pretend that everything could return to normal overnight. Instead, he apologized for every moment she felt alone while standing beside him. He admitted that he had broken something precious. Marissa listened, but she also protected her own heart. She explained that forgiveness did not mean pretending nothing happened. Healing required honesty, patience, and effort from both people. Their journey back to each other was not simple. There were difficult conversations, painful memories, and moments when old wounds reopened. But something changed. Adrian became the person he should have been all along. He listened instead of defending himself. He cared instead of assuming. He showed love through actions instead of empty words. Months later, Marissa returned to the house they once shared. It looked the same, but the feeling was different. The home was no longer a place filled with hidden pain. It became a place where two people were learning how to be honest again. Their marriage was not saved because Marissa ignored what happened. It survived because both of them understood the value of trust. They learned that love is not only found in happy moments but also in the difficult choice to become better. Years later, Marissa still remembered the day she packed her bags. It remained one of the hardest days of her life. But it was also the day she discovered her own strength. Sometimes losing something forces people to understand what they had. Sometimes a person only realizes the value of a heart when they see it walking away. If this story touched your heart, please support this video by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Your engagement helps these stories reach more people who may need a reminder that kindness, healing, and second chances can still exist. Before the ending, I want to ask you something special. Comment, a second chance begins with honesty, if you believe people can change when they truly understand their mistakes. Marissa's story was never only about betrayal. It was about courage, self-respect, and the power of choosing peace over pain. Her journey showed that even after heartbreak, a person can rise again. A broken heart can heal, trust can be rebuilt, and sometimes the strongest decision is the one where you finally choose yourself.